Get ready, Padres fans. It's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis hit third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Milwaukee Brewers in the first game of a 4-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Brewers, right-hander Bryce Wilson, and for the Padres, right-hander Adam Mazur. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40 as the Padres begin this 7-game homestand. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, you'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We also hear from Padres center fielder Jackson Merrill. And in just a little bit, we check in with Padres radio voice Jesse Agler. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres entered today with a record of 38-40. Padres snapped a 5-game losing skid and avoided an 0-6 road trip with yesterday's win in Philadelphia. Meanwhile, the Brewers come in 44-30. They sit in first place in the National League Central. Brewers have won 8 of their last 12 games. They just took 2 of 3 in Anaheim. These two teams met back in mid-April. Padres took 2 of 3 from the Brewers in Milwaukee. Before we turn our full attention to this homestand, let's take a look back at what happened yesterday in Philly.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
In the top of the second, Jackson Merrill put the Padres ahead.
This one hit in the air to right field, straight away and deep. Castellanos is back at the wall. He's looking up, gonna go! Home run, Jackson Merrill. Got him in the air again, and this is home run number 8 for the Padres center fielder. Odds take a 1-0 lead here in the second.
Bryce Harper tied the game with a solo home run against Matt Waldron. We were still tied at 1 in the 7th inning. Luis Arraez broke the tie.
1-2 to Arraez, swung on, lined into right field, and down for a base hit. Merrill has scored. Wade's on his way to third, and Luis Arraez has given the Padres the lead. An RBI single here in the 7th inning. It's 2-1.
Matt Waldron was outstanding once again. 7 innings, just 1 run given up. Another great start. Padres rallied in the top of the 8th inning. The bases were loaded for Kyle Higashioka.
A 1 pitch, kind of served into shallow center field. Marsh is charging, dives forward, can't make the catch, and it gets behind him. Azokar and Machado have scored. Kim is on his way. Higashioka into third with a 3-run hit, and the Padres lead it 5-1 here in the 8th.
That insurance ended up being important because Bryce Harper hit a solo home run in the bottom of the 8th inning to make it 5-2. Robert Suarez took the mound in the 9th, and Suarez shut the door.
2-2, the pitch. Dahl swings. It's a slow roller to the right side. Wade has got it, slings it to first in time. A 1-2-3, bottom of the 9th for Robert Suarez, and the ball game is over.
And that was that. Padres salvaged the series finale in Philadelphia, avoided an 0-6 road trip, and now the Padres come back home to downtown San Diego to start this 4-game series against Milwaukee, a 7-game homestand, 4 against the Brew Crew, and then 3 against the Washington Nationals. It is a stunning Thursday early evening here in downtown San Diego. Looking out at the ballpark right now, not a cloud in sight, bright blue skies. It's pretty hot out today, so should be a fun one here in downtown San Diego as we get ready for the start of this series. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a few ways. You can tweet at me at SammyLev, SammyLev. Instagram DM's open as well, same handle there. You can also comment on our various video streams. Let me know, what is your key to today's game? And I may just read your key to the game coming up a little bit later. Let's go inside the Padres radio booth.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Jesse, let's start with a look back at this road trip. Obviously, the first 5 days of the trip did not go well, but yesterday, Matt Waldron, terrific. Padres had some nice offensive moments as well. And Jesse, I said it on the postgame show yesterday, it just feels like there's a big difference between an 0-6 trip and a 1-5 trip, and I would imagine it was a happier flight on the way back yesterday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Not only a big difference between an 0-6 and a 1-5, but a big difference when the 1 is the last one. It really does, I think, help you kind of cleanse the palate maybe, on the way home, particularly with a flight of that length. And it was a long one, over 5 hours last night home from Philadelphia. So, yeah, I think, if you're going to have a trip of that nature, and you certainly don't really ever want to, but if you're going to, that's the way to end it. Like I said, not necessarily a good mood necessarily, but more of like all right, let's get that out of our system. And I think a win in the final game does help you turn the page a little bit here. And you obviously have to very, very quickly because no rest for the weary. This very, very difficult stretch continues with this 4-game series here against Milwaukee.
Yeah, 4-game series against a very good Brewers team right now, tops in the NL Central. And just to touch on yesterday's game and lead into this question, Jesse, a lot of good stuff yesterday offensively. Jackson Merrill had a couple of hits. You look at Profar's numbers entering today. It really is remarkable. Batting .323, tied for the best batting average in the majors, a .420 on-base percentage. Leads the NL. I know we've all talked a lot about what Jurickson's done this year, but as we get into deep June, towards July, towards the All-Star game, I mean, Jesse, this continues to be just an outstanding story. His consistency has been remarkable.
It has, and it might be the best story going in baseball right now.
Yeah.
And look, the reality is, I like to hammer small sample sizes earlier on in the season. Can't do that, with Jackson Merrill here on June 20th. This is real. What we are seeing from Jackson Merrill in 2024 is real. And it is really not only impressive, obviously, but it is critical to the success that the Padres have had. You start saying things at this juncture, right? Where would the Padres be without Jackson Merrill? Where would the Padres be without Matt Waldron? Not necessarily things, you go back to spring training when you and I are hanging out in Peoria and trying to sort of prognosticate between ourselves how we think the season is going. I can't imagine we could have ever imagined a scenario in which on June 20th we'd be saying, boy, man, if not for Profar and Waldron, this thing could be really ugly. But, that's, part of the beauty of baseball is that, something that you would not have anticipated becomes such a primary sense of focus here or part of focus here. And that's fun. You just never know. Like I could have said to you, hey, by the way, the Padres are going to have somebody win the batting title this year in the National League, all right? So imagine it's spring training. And then I told you it's going to be either Jurickson Profar or Luis Arraez. You'd be like, what are you talking about? But, that's a very real possibility, sitting here at this juncture. So, that's the fun of baseball and sport is that, as I like to say, whenever you think you know something, the game smacks you in the face and reminds you you know nothing at all.
Jesse, you mentioned small sample sizes, and to this point, 3 starts in the major leagues for Adam Mazur. Certainly a small sample size, but certainly the walks have been an issue for Mazur. 13 walks in 12 2/3 innings. I'll ask you the same question that I asked Mike Shildt earlier today in his 4th major league start. What are you looking for progress-wise from a guy like Adam Mazur?
Yeah, I mean, look, for a novice or an amateur like me as a non-pitcher, non-pitching coach, the easy answer, and it's the one I'll stick with, is fewer walks, fewer balls in general. Just be more over the plate, be more in command, and frankly, even if that doesn't go great for him, that's okay. Let's try that. And I'm not suggesting he's been walking guys on purpose or anything, but let's just see how it goes. If we maybe focus a little bit more on trying to throw the ball over the plate and throw strikes, because he's got good stuff. And I like his chances if he does that. I'm working with Bob Scanlon in this series, and very excited, obviously, to get Bob's pitching insight every night. But I think particularly here tonight when it comes to Mazur, because small sample, but we've seen enough of a pattern certainly to get a sense of what's not going right for him because of all the walks. Even though he somehow worked around them in his last outing, it's not a recipe for success certainly, and there's no doubt we'll be looking for fewer walks here tonight.
Well, you and I have talked about when it comes to Matt Waldron, that growth, right, that Waldron continues to go through, continues to show really a similar type of thing for Adam Mazur as he continues to grow as a major league pitcher. We'll see what start number 4 looks like for Mazur here today. Jesse, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Scan coming up at 6:30. Thanks so much.
You got it, Tim.
All right, that is Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show as we get ready for today's game here at Petco Park. It is 619 Aloha Shirt Night. I see a ton of the Aloha shirts around the Western Metal Building right now. I see some to my left, some to my right. I see a guy with a beer in hand in front of me, sipping a beer, wearing his Aloha shirt. Very, very cool shirts. I really got to say, might have to try to get my hands on one of those. But very cool shirts. Nice giveaway from the Padres here tonight. A lot of good giveaways on this homestand. We'll talk more about that at some point during our pregame coverage during the next few days. First pitch coming up at 6:40 as the Padres try to make it 2 wins in a row as they welcome in the Milwaukee Brewers. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Plus, coming up a little bit later, we hear from Padres center fielder Jackson Merrill on his recent power surge, on hitting left-handed pitching, on playing center field, on Rookie of the Year conversation. We hear from Jackson on a number of different things a little bit later as well. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues when we come back to Petco Park on the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected, EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40. Right-hander Adam Mazur on the mound for the Padres to open up this 4-game series against the Brew Crew. Speaking of Brews, I have two fans in front of me with the beer bats. Now, I'm wondering how much beer is in a beer bat. I don't know if these fans can tell me. I'm going to find out, though. One of the cooler, I would say, items here at Petco Park you can enjoy, the beer bats. Really, really cool. If I wasn't working, maybe a beer bat for me. That's not what I do. I'm on the air. I'm on the clock. Anyway, very, very cool. The beer bats here at Petco Park. In fact, I feel like I haven't seen a lot of those this season. That might be a new thing. I got to ask around. Very cool with the beer bats. Anyway, back to baseball. Padres taking on the Brewers after finishing up the road trip yesterday with a win in Philadelphia. The young right-hander Adam Mazur on the mound. Let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Last homestand here, a lot of success for the Padres, and I'm sure the road trip, not necessarily the record reflecting what you would like it to. What would you say are the overall goals for this homestand to get this team back on track?
Play like we did, and have the results we had the last homestand, 5-2, and feeling really good about it. And it's really just ultimately about everything working together and executing, all phases of the game. And we do that, we got the best chance to shake hands.
And then Jackson Merrill, talking to him earlier today about the hot streak that he's been on, he chalks up a lot of it to experience. What can you say about the success that he's had as of late?
Well, I think he's had success all year. I think he's been able to add the power's come into his game more recently. I think that's a byproduct of getting comfortable, recognizing, how pitchers are going to pitch you, just trying to make sure we're, having good at-bats. And now he's like, okay, I'm comfortable with what I'm seeing. Now I can pick my spot to, maybe drive the ball a little bit more. Very impressive for a guy this early in his career.
With Adam Mazur on the mound tonight, what progress are you looking for tonight in his fourth major league start?
Yeah, just looking for consistency. I use that word all the time, whether it's your fourth major league start or your 400th. I mean, being able to control the zone, command his secondary pitches, throw his fastball where he wants, and just execute consistently. But really, ultimately, short term is just make sure he's controlling counts.
With Robert Suarez, obviously, he had the tougher outing on Tuesday, but less than 24 hours later, hopped back on the mound, a 1-2-3 inning. What did that say about him, the job he's done this year?
You look, the guy proved he was human, right? I mean, he's been perfect, 25-0 in games he's pitched in. And, they put together some good at-bats against him. Him going out the next day, I don't think, only from my chair, but I can't speak, but I can give you a pulse of the club. There was zero apprehension about having Robert Suarez pitch the next day. The goal is always to get to the guy at the end, and we got a really good guy at the end. So his ability to come back and do what he's done all year was pretty much Robert.
With this homestand, you got a couple teams that are going to be right there in the playoff hunt with you, probably, at least right now, it looks like till the end of the year. Yeah. Now there's no playoff, and it's going on regular season head-to-head record. How important is that? Maybe up the ante a couple of these series where you need to perform well against teams like this in this type of situation?
Yeah, it's real. To get to the end of the season, there's no one game off playoff to see, so it's going to go to head-to-head matchup. And so when I say we're mindful of that, clearly we're mindful of it, but the fact of the matter is we want to win every game we play. So if you take that mindset and then you accomplish it, then the tiebreakers fall on your side.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt. Before today's game, we'll hear more from Mike on our post-game show coming up a little bit later on this evening after this one. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We begin with a look at at the hot category, Jerks and Profar certainly in that category for the Padres in the midst of a 12-game on-base streak, a .438 on-base percentage in that span with a couple of home runs and 9 RBIs. Profar entering today, he's batting .323, tied for the best batting average in the major leagues. His .420 on-base percentage leads the NL. He continues to be an all-star caliber outfielder in the NL. Christian Yelich, speaking of outfielders, batting .367 in his last 8 games for the Brewers with a couple of doubles, a home run, and 3 RBIs. In the not category, we take a look at a few Padres and 1 Brewer. Fernando Tatis Jr., his past 7 games, just 3 for 23 with no home runs and no RBI in that span. Jake Cronenworth is 2 for 24 in his last 7 games. Ha-Sung Kim, 4 for 26 in his last 9 games. And finally, for the Brew Crew, Rhys Hoskins batting just .167 in his last 14 games. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for this series opener, Game 1 of 4, between the Padres and the Brewers. When we come back, we'll have an injury update for you, the latest on Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. Plus, we hear from today's starting center fielder, Jackson Merrill, on a number of different topics. We have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, our keys to the game, and a deeper breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between Adam Mazur and Bryce Wilson. Our pregame coverage continues after this. I'm Sam Levitt on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as the Padres take on the Milwaukee Brewers. First game of this 4-game series. Right-hander Adam Mazur on the mound for the Padres, making his 4th major league start here today. He goes up against right-hander Bryce Wilson on the mound for the Brewers. We'll hear from Jackson Merrill in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. We'll also have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard and our keys to the game in a moment as well. Let's hear the latest on Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Yu Darvish made a rehab start with Fort Wayne last night. 3 innings and a third, 5 earned runs given up, 7 hits allowed, 1 home run on 49 pitches. So the line wasn't particularly pretty, but let's be honest, it's a rehab start. It's not about the line, I'm telling you that. So Yu Darvish made a rehab start yesterday with Fort Wayne. That's how he did. Let's get the latest on Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. Here was Mike Shildt on both earlier today.
Could you provide us with an update on Yu Darvish and his return?
His next time he'll pitch will be with us in a starting position, and we're not sure the day yet. We're going to see how he recovers from yesterday. All reports initially that came out of it, A, healthy, and then B, stuff was really good, so it was encouraging. We'll just try to see where we're going to slot him in.
And then an update on Joe Musgrove?
Joe's going to start to play some plyo ball catch and start to play some catch next couple days, and then we'll see. So nothing really new with Joe.
Pretty significant news in there. Yu Darvish, his next start will be in the major leagues with the Padres, so he will come off the IL for his next start. And that's good news, obviously, and we'll see what day he slots into the Padres rotation. And then you heard the update there on Joe. He's starting to throw some weighted balls, so a nice step for Joe, hopefully in the right direction. And good news there on Darvish, so he should be back pretty soon here, back in the Padres starting rotation. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Thursday. A lot of finals already. Orioles beat up on the Yankees 17-5 in New York earlier today. Royals beat the A's 3-2 in Oakland. Bobby Witt Jr. a home run in that game for Kansas City. Dodgers beat the Rockies in Colorado 5-3. Shohei Ohtani a home run in that one for LA. Astros beat the White Sox 5-3 in Chicago. Yordan Alvarez a home run for Houston in that one. Rays beat the Twins in 10, 7-6. Guardians beat the Mariners 6-3 in Cleveland. Diamondbacks beat the Nationals in DC 5-2. Christian Walker a home run in that one. Cardinals right now leading the Giants 5-3 at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama. Bottom half of the fifth inning there. And that's it. That's the only other game going on right now. And the only game yet to begin is this one in San Diego. And that's a look at the full out-of-town scoreboard on this Thursday. Before we hear from Padres center fielder Jackson Merrill, let's quickly pause for station ID on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for this series opener between the Padres and the Brewers. And obviously one really, really good story for the Padres continues to be the work of Jackson Merrill, who obviously has put together a terrific rookie campaign to this point. But on top of that, as of late, we've seen a power surge from Jackson Merrill. He's hit 5 home runs in his last 7 games, and 4 of those home runs have come against left-handers. He's done that in addition to hitting for nearly a .280 average. He's done that in addition to playing a very, very good center field, despite never playing there before spring training. So it continues to be a very, very impressive early part of his major league career for Jackson Merrill. Merrill spoke with the media earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse on a number of different topics.
Jackson, you've had a lot of success as of late, not to say that you haven't throughout the whole season, but I mean the 5 home runs in the last 7 games, that of note. Has there been anything different in terms of your approach as of late?
No, more experience. More experience is all I can really say. You know, as the season goes on, I expect it to just kind of get better. Power surges come and go, so you know I'm going to stay with what I'm doing right now and be consistent and just try and win. And just go out there and try and play for the win.
You've earned more starts against left-handed pitching. In terms of the success that you found there, What has that been like for you, just to know that you are being trusted in those types of situations?
I mean, I really don't recall getting too many opportunities against lefties early in the season. You know, I really feel like recently is when I've got opportunities, and I've kind of made them count. I don't really think I've ever been bad against lefties. My splits have never been bad against lefties in my life. So it's really just, you know, go in there, treat it like a normal AB, and just know that's coming from the opposite direction.
What's the secret to having success against left-handers? Is just keeping the front half in there and make sure you're not flying out, especially when that slider's coming in?
I don't think there's a secret. I think it's just going there with your same swing. You don't got to change anything from righty to lefty. It's your approach. It's the pitch you're looking for. You can take the same swing on a pitch from a lefty if it's in the same spot as it's thrown from a righty.
And when you get into a hot streak like this, how hard is it to stay locked in like that? It's not simply your setup gets a little wonky, you start to drift a little bit, to make sure you're keeping that consistency over a long period of time.
Yeah, you know, you just go through your same routine every day, and if you feel something, then go to the cage and work on it. There's no really recipe for success or anything besides hard work. So you just go in, put in the work, make sure you stay consistent, don't get too lazy.
I might know the answer to this already, but your name's popping up there in Rookie of the Year conversations. Have you allowed yourself to think about that at all?
I don't even care about that stuff, dude. I couldn't care less about any Rookie of the Year votings or All-Star votings. I care about our team right here. I care about winning here.
Defensively, there was that play in Philadelphia where you played the ball off the fence, made the relay to Kim. He makes the relay home. Really well done relay throw to home plate. Those kinds of plays in center field, playing the ball off the wall. What have you learned about that the last couple of months?
You know, it's kind of the same thing as I've been saying, is playing for the win. You know, I love to be aggressive. I love to go try and dive for balls and catch balls, but you have to think about what's going to happen if you also miss the ball. So, you know, in Philly's ballpark, it's kind of weird out there in that left center gap, so I kind of had to just wait for the ball to play off where it was going to play. I was on the other side, and Pro was waiting on the other side. So regardless of where it hit the wall, we were gonna start a relay and have an opportunity. So, you know, it's just knowing when to be aggressive and when to kind of play it safe and try and take it out somewhere else.
Interesting point. You're not just learning a new position, you're learning new ballparks for that position. What's that learning curve been like for you?
Different, for sure, especially with the wind in some ballparks. Like, you know, San Francisco's got kind of crazy wind, and Philly's honestly was kind of a little different than a lot of places. But, you know, just kind of go out there and practice and get your reads down. After the first day of reads, it gets really easy from there.
And at the end of that road trip, how important was coming back with that last one?
I mean, it was a normal game. We won. We weren't thinking about the previous 5 games. We weren't thinking about any of that. We were just thinking, let's go play our game and let's try and win. You know, it always sucks to lose 5 in a row, but it's not the end of the world.
That last homestand you had here, really successful, 5-2. You had the walk-off home run to end the homestand. Your first couple of months here in San Diego, what have you enjoyed about playing at home?
The fans, you know, the family. Kind of just built a relationship with everybody in here, and we love going out there and try and put it on the field for the fans. You know, we want nothing more than to bring it home every day. So, you know, kind of just getting out there and playing as hard as I can, playing for fun. That's the best part about playing here. There's so much energy.
We talked about how hard it is to maintain a hot streak like this. What advice have these guys given you on just keep doing you?
You know, just stay to my approach. Don't try to get too big. Try not to hit homers. You know, I haven't been trying to hit homers, and they've been coming naturally. So just stay with my approach, stay with the line drive approach, and, you know, homers are happy accidents. You know, try to hit your doubles and take your hits, but homers will come.
You're a youngster, but what do you remember about Willie Mays and just kind of the game of baseball and what he meant to it?
You know, he's huge influence. Huge influence. You know, I didn't play center field until this year, but, you know, he's someone that I went and looked at just to see how hard he played it. Obviously, film isn't crazy back then. You know about the catch. That's one of the biggest ones, one of the only ones you really see. But, you know, I just heard a lot of how he played the game like a true baseball player, and that's how I want to play it.
A lot of good stuff there from Jackson Merrill, Padres center fielder, earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. Merrill back in center field today, batting 6th for the Friars. Let's take a quick look at the Padres lineup today. Pretty much the usual. Luis Arraez at first base leading off. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field batting 2nd. Jurickson Profar, the DH, batting 3rd. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting cleanup. Manny Machado at third base batting 5th. Jackson Merrill in center field batting 6th. David Peralta in left field batting 7th. Luis Campusano doing the catching batting 8th. And Ha-Sung Kim at shortstop batting 9th. So Profar the DH, Peralta in left, and the Padres going up against right-hander Bryce Wilson on the mound for the Brew Crew here tonight. And we'll have much more on that pitching matchup between Wilson and Adam Mazur coming up in just a little bit. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
Key number one, capitalize on a shorthanded Brewer bullpen. The Brewers bullpen has been great. Despite Devin Williams not pitching this season due to a back injury, Trevor McGill has been their closer lately, a 1.86 ERA, and he's converted each of his last 9 save opportunities. But the reason I say a shorthanded Brewer pen is this. McGill could be unavailable today after pitching in 4 of the last 5 days. So the question today is, who would close and be among the late inning options for the Brewers today out of the bullpen? One guy the Padres have to navigate regardless of the status of this Brewer pen, lefty Brian Hudson, a name you might not know but you should know, leads all National League relievers in whip at 0.65, has an 0.90 ERA this season in 40 innings. So again, the Brewers, maybe without McGill, have to do some things differently in the back end of their bullpen here today. How do the Padres potentially take advantage of that? That's key number one. Key number two, the Padres navigating their own bullpen. The reason I bring it up, Robert Suarez and Jeremiah Estrada could both be unavailable today after pitching the last 2 days. I'm not saying they definitely are, but they both have pitched the last 2 days in Philadelphia. So keep an eye on that here today. How do the Padres navigate their bullpen? Key number three, Adam Mazur limiting the walks. 13 walks in 12-plus innings during his first 3 major league starts. And the reason I bring it up, we've said it before with Mazur, he was not that guy in the minor leagues. He allowed, before getting to the major leagues, 26 walks in 147 plus minor league innings. Again, he only walked 26 in 147 plus minor league innings. He already has 13 walks in 12 plus innings in his first 3 major league starts. So Mazur just being more in command, not walking people, that's a huge key for him here today. And that's a look at our keys to the game. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, I'll read through some of your keys to today's game, so get them in right now. You can tweet at me at SammyLev, SammyLev. Instagram DM's open as well, SammyLev there too. You can also comment on our YouTube chat online. If you're watching our pregame coverage here at Petco Park, let me know, what is your key to tonight's series opener against the Brewers? Plus, we'll take a look at an exciting matchup of 2 really, really talented young players here tonight, and we dive deeper into today's pitching matchup between Adam Mazur and Bryce Wilson. Our pregame coverage continues from downtown San Diego after this on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40 here in downtown San Diego. An absolutely gorgeous early evening here in America's finest city. Padres starting this 4-game set against the Brewers, a 7-game homestand, 4 against Milwaukee and 4 against Washington coming up through the early portion of next week. It is 619 Aloha Shirt Night here at the ballpark, so I see plenty of the Aloha shirts around the Western Metal Building right now. I also have a very, very loyal listener who's wearing a Merrill Madness shirt. Merrill Madness on the front of the shirt. So yes, Merrill Madness is sweeping Petco Park, and I have a fan right now very nicely modeling the 619 Aloha shirt giveaway. Looks great. Hope everybody's enjoying the giveaway on this Thursday evening. Let's tell you what to watch for in this series opener between the Pods and the Brew Crew.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game. The Jacksons, the Brewers' Jackson Merrill and the Padres' Jackson Merrill are the two youngest players currently in the major leagues, and both are playing really well lately. Merrill is batting .342 with 8 extra base hits, 5 home runs, 8 RBIs in his last 11 games. Meanwhile, Jackson Merrill is batting .293 in his last 13 games, 2 home runs, and 11 RBIs in that span. So what do these young players do tonight and throughout this series? Merrill is 20, Merrill is 21. Some of the most exciting young talent we have in the game right now. So that's what I'm watching for in this game and really throughout this series. Another matchup between the two youngest players in the major leagues. Yes, both named Jackson Merrill for the Brew Crew, and for the Padres, of course, their center fielder, Jackson Merrill. What do we see from those two guys here tonight and throughout the weekend? Let's dive into our pitching matchup between Adam Mazur and Bryce Wilson on this Thursday evening.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
On the mound for Milwaukee, right-hander Bryce Wilson, 26 years old. He's 4-3 with a 3.84 ERA in 17 outings, 8 starts total, 63-plus innings. He struck out 50 and walked 24. His last outing against the Reds, he was really good in a bulk inning situation for the Brewers. 5 innings and a third, no earned runs given up. That was after he allowed 7 earned runs in just 4 innings and a third against the Tigers. Wilson had really been struggling before that last outing against Cincinnati, had an 8.36 ERA in 3 starts before that last outing against the Reds. Wilson faced the Padres on April 17th in Milwaukee. He was good that day in relief. 3 2/3 innings, no runs given up, and allowed just a couple of hits. On the mound for the Padres, right-hander Adam Mazur, the 23-year-old, is 0-2 with a 7.82 ERA in 3 starts so far this year, 12 2/3 innings, 8 strikeouts, 13 walks. His last start against the Mets, he went 3 2/3 innings, 2 earned runs given up, 3 hits, and he walked 6. And like we alluded to earlier, walks have been a major issue for Mazur in the very early part of his major league career. 13 walks allowed in just 12 2/3 innings, and the reason that has been so surprising, like we said in our last segment, he allowed just 26 walks in 147-plus innings in the minor leagues. So that is a key today for Adam Mazur, just limiting the walks, being more in command, being more like the guy he was in the minor leagues. We'll see if Mazur can do that here today, and that's a look at our starting pitching matchup between Bryce Wilson and Adam Mazur. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Let's go back through a couple of headlines from this one. Jackson Merrill in the midst of a 12-game on-base streak, a .438 on-base percentage in that span with a couple of home runs and 9 RBIs. Merrill entering today, batting .323. That's tied for the best batting average in the major leagues. His .420 on-base percentage leads the NL, and as we found out a handful of days ago, Jackson Merrill currently the leading vote getter for the National League All-Star team among NL outfielders. He continues to have just a terrific year. As far as the guys for the Padres that have to pick it up a little bit, Fernando Tatis Jr., he's slumping after that 17-game hitting streak. Fernando in his past 7 games, just 3 for 23. No home runs, no RBI in that span. Jake Cronenworth, only 2 for 24 in his last 7 games. Ha-Seong Kim, only 4 for 26 in his last 9 games. So we'll see if Tatis, Cronenworth, and Kim can get it going in that Padre lineup here today. Padres come into the day after winning the final game of their road trip yesterday, avoiding an 0-6 trip, coming back home after a 1-5 trip. Padres enter with a record of 38-40. Brewers, meanwhile, are at 44-30. They sit in first place in the National League Central. Brewers have won 8 out of their last 12 games. They just took 2 out of 3 in Anaheim. And again, we said this earlier, these two teams met back in April. Padres took 2 out of 3 from the Brewers in Milwaukee, and quite frankly, they were very close to sweeping that series. You might remember Michael King had a terrific start in that final game of the series in Milwaukee. Padres lost the game 1-0. So the Padres played very nicely against the Brewers on the road in Milwaukee earlier this season. Now looking to do it again here in America's finest city on a Thursday night. A gorgeous evening here in downtown San Diego. Should be a lot of fun on the Padres Radio Network. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and then all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.